Good afternoon. My name is Courtney Kendall from the U.S. Department of Energy SunShot Initiative, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Solar Technical Assistance Overview and Applications. We're excited to have you with us today. We'll give folks a few more minutes to call in and log on, so while we wait, I will go over some logistics and then we'll get going with today's webinar. I want to mention that this webinar will be recorded and everyone today is on listen-only mode. You have two options for how you can hear today's webinar. In the upper right corner of your screen, there is a box that says Audio Mode. This will allow you to choose whether or not you want to listen to the webinar through your computer speakers or a telephone. Select either use telephone or use mic and speakers. If you select use telephone, the box will display the telephone number and specific audio pin you should use to dial in. We will have a questions and answers session at the end of the presentation. You can participate by submitting your questions electronically during the webinar. Please do this by going to the questions pane in the box showing on your screen. There you can type in any question that you have during the course of the webinar, and our speakers will address as many questions as time allows after the presentation. Today we will have 4 speakers, 2 of which will be previous technical assistant recipients, and we will also have someone from the SunShot Solar Outreach Program, another DOE solar-funded technical assistance program. Our first speaker today is Erin Nobler. Erin is a project leader in the Integrated Applications Center at National Renewable Energy Laboratory, also known as NREL. She focuses primarily on solar policy work and is the task lead of the Quick Response Technical Assistance Program. Next, we will have Lise Trudeau. Lise is an engineer at the Minnesota Department of Commerce, Division of Energy Resources, where she provides technical support and analysis of renewable and high-efficiency energy generation policies and programs. Her areas of focus include distributed generation, net metering, and interconnection. Following Lise will be Jay Hascheider. Jay is a senior staff person at Columbia Water and Light in Columbia, Missouri. He is involved in renewable energy planning and acquisition for the municipally owned utility, particularly solar development. And finally, we will have Rihanna Ackley. Rihanna is a Technical Assistance Program Officer on ICLEI's Renewable Energy team. Rihanna works with ICLEI's partner organizations on the implementation of the U.S. Department of Energy's Solar Outreach Partnership. Now I'd like to go ahead and introduce Erin Nobler. She will go ahead and start us off with the presentation. Erin?
Hi everybody, and thank you for the introduction. My name is Erin Nobler, and as Courtney said, I'm an NREL project leader working on solar technical assistance. During my presentation today, I would like to take you through the types of technical assistance that are available through our program, give you examples of past TA requests that we have seen, discuss some of our program metrics and what makes a successful TA request, and then go through the process of how to apply for assistance through our program. At the end of the presentation, I will happily take any questions you may have. So what is STAT? STAT stands for Solar Technical Assistance Team. This project is funded by the Department of Energy Solar Program in coordination with NREL and Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, which also provides assistance. The purpose of STAT is to offer current, credible information to state and local government decision makers on policies, regulations, financing, and other issues that states and localities are currently facing. As we like to say, STAT offers 3 different flavors of technical assistance. Education, which includes webinars and fact sheets on various topics. Quick Response, which is one-on-one technical assistance that requires fast turnaround. And in-depth one-on-one technical assistance for longer-term requests. So first, I would like to go into more detail on the education component. We offer webinars, fact sheets, memos, and other resources that seek to answer questions for a broader audience. The webinars are broken up into 3 different series that will help decision makers with a variety of questions. The format for the different series is as follows. We have the Solar 101 series, which introduces policymakers to solar and the strategies for implementing it. This series is where you would want to point someone to who is brand new to solar and needs what we call the 101 information. So next are the hot topics. These webinars cover the current events, as we call it, in solar. As you can see, last year we focused on solar finance, shared solar, and RFPs. We will likely have more of these webinars as topics come up, and this is a great place for you to offer suggestions if you're hearing about a specific solar policy topic from your constituents. We love suggestions. And then in 2014, the webinar series is called Do It Yourself, solar market analysis. These webinars will offer information on tools and resources you can use to help analyze the market. So a little bit more on the 2014 webinar series. This series of webinars is a summer series titled Do-It-Yourself Solar Market Analysis. The series follows the schedule of the second Wednesday of every month from noon to 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and that's from May to August, so May, June, July, and August. If you didn't have the opportunity to view any of these webinars, they are available on the STAT website, and we'll discuss the website in more detail a little bit later on. So the topics covered in this series are top NREL solar tools and resources, resource maps, PV watts, and the Community Solar Scenario Tool. These webinars focus on the tools and resources available through NREL and how they can be utilized by state and local decision makers. Okay, so as promised, I want to discuss the new NREL Stat website, which was rolled out in May of 2014. This website, which is accessible directly from NREL's homepage, includes a new blog, information on policy basics, easy access to technical assistance requests, and much more. Okay, so now let's talk about the direct technical assistance portion of the program. The Quick Response Program is our Rapid Response TA program. It allows for policymakers and staff to ask a wide variety of questions, from technology questions all the way to policy and program design and impact questions. This program is accessed by a short online application and provides for about 80 hours of assistance per request. Through a streamlined process, we can offer quick turnaround on approvals so that these requests are processed quickly in order to meet the requester's timeline. On the left side of the slide, you will see some of the applicants and topics of TA that have been provided through this program in the past year. This Quick Response Program has a rolling application throughout the year, so you can apply at any time. If the request is not super time sensitive and requires a larger effort, we direct it to the in-depth technical assistance program. These requests are usually more in-depth and require more research and time than the Quick Response, usually 80 hours of expert time and above. These requests are evaluated by a team of NREL experts to ensure alignment with Department of Energy SunShot goals, significant market impact potential, and likelihood of action from the entity based on the results of the request. This year, in-depth assistance will be provided on a biannual basis, meaning we will have evaluation periods twice during the fiscal year. We encourage you to head over to the NREL Stat website to find out when the next round will be occurring. And on the left side of the slide, you can see the geographic distribution of requests on the map. This illustrates the broad nature, geographically speaking, of the requests we received in fiscal year 2013. I don't want to go into too much detail with examples of TA requests, as we have two speakers coming up that will do so. However, I'd like to just touch on some of the topics we see come through the program. In FY12 and 13, some of the more popular topics we heard about were net metering and interconnection, permitting, home rule, and code. So diving in a little deeper, here's one specific example of a request we have received. Last year, Delaware PSC was formulating policy specifically regarding whether inverters are accurate enough to fulfill their requirement of recorded by appropriate metering. They reached out to NREL for technical assistance to address the issue of inverter accuracy, which we were able to provide. Delaware then used the information to help form a policy decision concerning the type of metering required to participate in an SREC procurement program, which you can see in the docket showing on the right. So this is just one example of the assistance we provide to inform policymakers in order for them to make decisions on solar policies in their region. And finally, we want you to be aware of an outreach effort happening regarding our technical assistance on the new website. We recently created the Interactive Technical Assistance Project Map. This map offers many examples of the assistance we've provided to states and localities in recent years. This is a great resource to point people to who would like to see what types of assistance we provide, what the outcomes are, and so on. Please explore this page and let us know if you have any questions or comments. We're really excited about it and hope that it provides you and perhaps your constituents with the information you need regarding our technical assistance. So now that I've explained the different types of TA we offer, I would like to better explain what makes a good TA request. The first step is ensuring eligibility for the program. Applicants must be a state or local elected official or their staff, or a state or local agency staff member. We stick to these requirements as these are the applicants that are most likely to be positioned to make change. Next, the work being requested must somehow tie back to the enhancement of the PV market in an area or a decrease in cost. We will discuss this more in the next slide. Also, a successful applicant will be able to provide staff time to assist NREL. We try to make these requests a two-way street. While we love providing assistance, oftentimes we need information and input from the requester in order to make the request successful. For this reason, having staff available helps to ensure the success of the project. It's also important to point to a specific barrier that exists in your state or locality that requires assistance to overcome. Once that's defined, it's helpful to articulate specifically how the requested assistance would remove or reduce the barrier. An example of this would be how a streamlined interconnection process would reduce developer wait times by X amount of days. That's just one example. And then finally, it's important for the requester to be well positioned to make change. So keeping in mind that while we would like to help everyone, we are operating within a constrained budget, and therefore we need to prioritize requests. In order to do so, once basic criteria for eligibility is reached, we evaluate requests in the following areas. Alignment with DOE SunShot goals is extremely important to our program. Showing how the assistance may affect technology costs or grid integration costs, or how assistance may accelerate the solar market, are all important in the decision-making process. Showing what the impact potential can be, how the assistance could be replicable to other states or localities, and proving that the results of assistance will affect more than a single project all increase the likelihood of getting accepted. Also keeping in mind the area of NREL expertise and whether or not this is an appropriate role for the Department of Energy. If a request can be addressed by a private consultant or another agency, it may be less likely to be considered for technical assistance. Finally, I'd like to discuss how to apply for assistance. Quick response, as I mentioned earlier, is provided on a rolling basis and can be applied to at any point during the year. To apply, you need to fill out an easy one-page document that asks for basic contact information and a brief summary of what the request is and how it will help lower costs or move the market. Once completed, you can send this document to stat@nrel.gov, and we will get back to you as soon as possible to move forward. And this document is available at the website listed on the slide. So as for in-depth, this application is going to be available biannually at the same website as the quick response application. Again, please head to the website for the most up-to-date information on the next round of in-depth assistance. And then more generally, if you would like to receive information about STAT, and specifically, if you'd like to be informed when the applications are live or when new webinars are occurring, please sign up for our state and local listserv, and we'll make sure to keep you informed on our activities. So the final piece of information you need to know about our STAT program is what we ask of you as an applicant. First and foremost, we need participation in the request. As I mentioned earlier, having access to the information we need is extremely important to ensure that a request is completed in a timely manner with full information. By providing staff time to this project, you are helping make that happen. Second, we're always looking for feedback. We measure our success on whether or not you're satisfied with the assistance. But beyond that, we look to find out if the information NREL provided was used, whether it was incorporated in order to adopt, modify, or maintain a solar program, and whether the solar market was moved in a jurisdiction once assistance was received. You will be contacted by someone at NREL to provide this feedback after your assistance is completed. However, at any time, please do feel free to contact us and let us know how we're doing and how the assistance has been useful. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. I'll turn the mic back over to Courtney so that she can introduce the next speakers.
Thank you, Erin. So right now, we'll go ahead and move on to Lise Trudeau. Lise?
Thank you, Courtney. My name is Lisa Trudeau with the Minnesota Department of Commerce since 2006, focusing on distributed generation technologies. Next slide, please. Oops. Courtney, do I have control? Should I be advancing?
No, it looks, you know what, it looks like this is the only slide that came up, please.
Oh, no. If you want to give me control, I could start. I have
hold on. Okay, Lise, you should have, I'm going to just, do you want me to just change it on over to you? Change the presenter over to you?
Sure, that sounds good. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Great. Okay.
Sorry about that.
So, no worries. Thanks, everybody, for hanging in there. So, Minnesota has started back in 2011 looking at distributed generation topics that affect all kinds of distributed generation, and found that we could really use some technical assistance in what had been happening in a national sense. And just to give a little bit of background, Minnesota was the first state to implement net metering, and that was back in 1983. But it had been about 3 decades since we had updated those standards. Meanwhile, many other states had gone ahead and not only implemented net metering, but made iterative improvements. So there was a general interest among stakeholders just to better understand Minnesota's net metering policy, how it may differ from other state net metering policies, and also how it may differ from interconnection and other related policies. So just a moment. Moving to the next slide. So I guess I should also give a little background. Minnesota had been working with NREL on a number of different grant programs related to solar electricity, starting in 2008 with Solar America Cities for the cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis, and receiving technical assistance through the NREL Tiger teams. And then continuing with the SunShot grant from 2012 to 2013 statewide, the state of Minnesota received NREL technical assistance as well on that grant. In 2011, the state started a workshop series for stakeholders on distributed generation topics, including net metering and interconnection standards. And we received what you could say is short-term stat assistance, and Kim Peterson was able to come out for a November 2011 workshop to provide a national overview and policy options for net metering. And continuing in 2012, the state conducted a smaller focused interconnection workshop with utilities and stakeholders to really look at the state's interconnection standards. And the state of Minnesota had implemented interconnection standards before the FERC small generator interconnection standard model. And so the state of Minnesota's interconnection standards had some certain differences from the FERC model, and we also wanted to understand what other states were doing with their interconnection standards. Mike Coddington with NREL, who is an expert on interconnection standards, came out to provide a number of different presentations for that workshop, including national perspectives, updates on efforts related to codes and standards, external disconnect, switch, and network interconnection topics. And if people are interested in the agendas for the different workshop topics and presentation slides, those are available on our website. And then I should also mention that in 2013, we had a variety of legislative initiatives that were passed by the state related to expanded net metering capacity limits, community solar gardens, and aggregate metering, among other things. And those can also be found on our website. And that concludes my slides. I will pass this back to you guys.
Thank you, Lise. Appreciate it.
Should I pass it to Courtney?
You can pass it back on to me, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. We really appreciate it. Next, we have Jay Hascheider. Jay, please go ahead and take it away.
Sure. I'm hoping that I don't have to take control of the slides because I'd be in trouble.
No, you're good to go.
I think if we could move just to the next slide, that would be great. The thing that I want to discuss is just our brief experience with NREL, and was asked to just talk about that which occurred last year. We, first of all, are a municipal utility with a municipally mandated RPS and are required to meet certain specific renewable goals. One of our interests is to develop solar in Columbia, and the idea of community solar has a lot of appeal in the community and in the utility. So we were looking into this last year and doing some research. It would appear to us that it's a pretty common sense thing when you have a community-owned utility that a community solar project would be a natural adoption to that. But in the course of things, it just is one of these important issues that needs to be addressed in many ways as possible. And so doing the research that is needed to make sure that we're on solid ground, we more or less came across the Technical Assistance Program by NREL last year and made an application, and it was accepted, and that's what this talk is about. I have to say that my experience was pretty good from the standpoint that, first of all, the application process was very smooth. I was able to do that without a lot of fuss on the utility or the city's part. Typically, pursuing grant requests or pursuing grant applications requires city council approval, which of course is a big deal. In this case, it was because there's no money being transacted or any agreement contract that had to be written. It was a simple thing that I could do from my desk, and that was great. We had, I guess the one thing about it is that we didn't find out from NREL for, it was probably a couple of months before we found out that we were indeed approved for getting that technical assistance. And but nevertheless, when it came through, they were able to do some of the research and provide I guess the more national view on some of the aspects of community solar that we felt were really important to understand and before we could move forward on it. The NREL staff, we had several different conference calls. The NREL staff did their own research. We sent them some information, and they added that into a report that was, I guess, something like 20-some pages. And that report was eventually delivered to our city council in person by NREL staff last fall. And before that, they were able to give the a summary of the report to in a web address to our Water and Light Board. So there was actually 2 public presentations, and if you go to the next slide, it resulted in the report that is tailored to Columbia. Columbia was based on the needs and so forth from our community, which we really appreciated, and it has set the stage more or less for us to go forward and develop our program, which still is in the developmental stage, but it is proceeding, and we are using the information from the report as we go forward. And that basically is, that's kind of the sum total of my experience, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate it. So moving on, we come to Rihanna Ackley from the SunShot Solar Outreach Partnership. Rihanna?
Hi, yes, thank you. Next slide, please. Hi, I'm Rihanna Ackley, Technical Assistance Officer of ICLEI Global Governments for Sustainability. ICLEI is part of the Department of Energy's SunShot Solar Outreach Partnership, or SolarOps. SolarOps is designed to help accelerate solar energy adoption on the local level by providing timely and actionable information to local governments. To perform the work of SolarOps, DOE selected teams led by ICLEI and the International City County Management Association, ICMA. The team includes the American Planning Association, the National Association of Regional Councils, the Interstate Renewable Energy Council, Meister Consultants Group, North Carolina Solar Center, the Solar Foundation, and the Solar Electric Power Association. Next slide, please. Thank you. SolarOps has a number of offerings developed for local governments and other key stakeholders, such as utilities, to help them take a comprehensive approach to solar energy deployment. By using this outreach and education, SolarOps produces materials such as case studies and guidebooks, webinars and workshops to inform local governments on best practices and how to advance solar energy in their communities. SolarOps also has a website where all of this information can be found at solaroutreach.org. The link to this website can be found on the bottom of the next slide, please. So SolarOps also offers technical assistance to help cities and counties remove barriers in local markets and increase installed solar capacity. This technical assistance may be in the form of an Ask an Expert web portal, in-depth assistance, customized trainings, and peer facilitation. For the Ask an Expert web service, we have a team of solar experts that provide answers to local government staff and their stakeholders when they submit a question. Topics to submit a question may include market analysis, financing, performance of technologies, and utilities, processes, and procedures. If you have a question for Ask an Expert service, you may email your question to solar-usa@iclei.org, and we'll give you a response in a timely manner. SolarOps also offers one-on-one customized assistance to local governments to help them overcome soft cost barriers such as permitting, financing, and installing solar on municipal facilities. If your community has identified a specific need or barrier and is looking for guidance, SolarOps may be able to provide this type of assistance. This type of customized assistance may take the form of a program or policy analysis, a technical review of an RFP, a market analysis, or assistance in designing a new solar incentive program. To learn more or to apply for this technical assistance, you may go to our website at solaroutreach.org. The link can be found at the bottom of this slide, and you will see a technical assistance application. Next slide, please. So SolarOps worked with the City of Asheville and a local nonprofit to develop a solarized or bulk purchasing program, which was designed to help lower the customer acquisition costs and provide education on solar energy to homeowners. So SolarOps was able to provide technical assistance by way of offering guidance in the drafting of the RFP for the Solarize campaign. We were able to provide guidance in the structure and design of the Solarize program, and we were also able to help in the participation of an educational workshop, which was specifically designed for homeowners to attend the Solarize Asheville campaign to learn more about solar energy and how they could sign up for the campaign. So currently there are over 300 households that have signed up for this program, and the selected installer is currently assessing these homes to see if they are suitable for solar. And to date, the installer has completed 280 site assessments and is scheduled to be completing these site assessments shortly. So that's just an example of the type of assistance that we may provide along with the other types as I had mentioned. So for more information on solar apps, I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of this webinar. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Rihanna. We want to thank you, Aaron, Lise, Jay, and Rihanna. Now we'll go ahead and get into the questions and answer session, and we will get to as many questions as time allows, or as many questions that come in. So let's go ahead and get started. We do have a few questions here that are coming in. Here we go. Do you need to enter into a contract to get help? Erin, would you like to take that?
Sure. So Jay touched on this a little bit, and I just want to reiterate that no, the answer is no, you don't. It's a slightly less formal process than some of you may think. We do have a verbal agreement, and we hope that you follow up with all of the efforts, but no formal contract is necessary to get assistance from NREL.
Okay. Is the help always in the format of a report?
No, and Rihanna, feel free to jump in for your assistance as well. Reports are a lot of times what the deliverable is that's requested. However, we can provide PowerPoints, we can provide memos. There's a variety of different things that we can assist with. In-person expertise or testimony is also something that we're able to provide as a deliverable for our technical assistance. So while reports are probably the most a traditional way of us providing technical assistance, we're certainly not limited to that.
Okay. Let's see. You mentioned a community solar tool. Can you explain this more?
Sure. So hi, everybody. This is Kim Peterson. I'm the task lead for the in-depth program that Aaron explained earlier. And I just want to mention an upcoming tool that NREL has developed based on a couple of requests we have received. Jay has actually seen part of this tool in action, and basically it's a model that can give price information for what a utility would need to charge for a community solar project to recoup its costs. So this tool is pretty well developed. We're doing some user testing and feedback right now. It's really going to be more of a tool for small utilities like co-ops and munis to take a first stab at how the economics of community solar projects play out. So when that tool is more available in the form of a spreadsheet on our website, we'll certainly be doing an email blast about that. And hopefully, if anybody is interested in developing a community solar project, that would be a useful tool for you.
Great, thank you, Kim. And on those same lines, this one's for Jay. What were the important aspects of community solar that NREL addressed for Columbia?
No, I was on mute. There is many different ones. I think the ones that have most relevance in my mind is first of all the ownership model. They more or less laid out all of the possible ways that a solar facility could be owned, whether it was owned by private parties or the utility and so forth, and what the implications were of those different ownership models. And also then the idea of how we actually subscribe customers. Is it based, what is that transaction based on? And that was an important thing that we're still actually trying to resolve, which is, are we selling them a panel? Are we leasing a panel? Are we allowing them to purchase energy in blocks through this program? And so there's a lot of different ways that you can look at how to structure the community solar program. And so that's another important thing that they pointed out to us. And then they also brought out brought to us like the federal tax implications, and I think most importantly the idea of securities aspect of, if this becomes an investment for the customer on the customer's part. The risks that it might open up a need to get the Security and Exchange Commission involved, and something that we don't deal with at all, and something that we would prefer not to if we didn't have to. So these are some of the important things that they pointed out. I want to say that the report, one of the, I guess, in a typical consultant basis, you sort of get the consultant to actually give you their best, I guess, their best judgment as to what way to proceed. And that was something that the NREL report doesn't do. It doesn't say, well, here's the library of different options available, but we think for Columbia this would be the best one. And that's something that they just can't do. And so, they take it to the point where this is what is on the plate, and you have to choose which one you want. And so that's, I think, in a nutshell, the most of the highlights of it. There's a lot of other things. They did look briefly into Missouri law to see if there was any difficulties, and that was very helpful on our part, just to. And again, they didn't give us legal advice, but it was that they didn't find anything that was going to prevent us as a community-owned utility to move forward.
Great, thank you, Jay. And as I mentioned before, if you guys have a question, please feel free to ask it in your questions pane in the toolbar. So we do have a question here. Can technical assistance be given to a community-based organization opposed to a local government? Would Erin or Kim, would you like to take that?
Sure. Yeah, I think I can try to answer that, and I'll let Kim chime in. So we do try to ask that it be a state or local government or government official rather than an organization. If it is a community organization that's interested in something, we like to recommend partnering with a local government entity, and that way, again, that's just to make sure that the right people are involved with the projects that can keep it moving along. So a community organization can certainly be involved in the request, but we do ask that a state or local be involved.
And I'll just add to that, we have had examples where, and this is more on the state level that I'm thinking, but a state organization has been involved in coalescing a number of states to submit a joint application, but the actual lead applicant was a state. So if there's communities around you that you think are maybe dealing with some of the same issues, it's always good to, on our end, for us to see kind of a joint application, and the community-based organization may be instrumental in pulling that